Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a lot of big news I'd like to brief you all on today. So today's date is March 31st, 2025, and it's Monday. So welcome back to another wonderful week of news on this war with Ukraine and Russia. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. If you weren't aware, I was not here on Saturday. Unfortunately, I was not feeling too well. I've been having some stomach issues ongoing for a few years now. It looks like it's starting to catch up to me, so I'm probably going to see a doctor here very soon and get it looked at. But for the most part, I'm okay, so don't worry about me. Just want to let you guys know why I was not able to make it here on Saturday, and Sunday usually being my normal allocated day off each week. So I just extended the weekend and rested up. I'm feeling a little bit better, but not 100% yet. But also, just a quick reminder, want to let you guys know as of April 5th, coming up this Saturday, I will not be here from April 5th up until April 14th. I'm going to be on vacation out of town for about a week or so, but I'll keep you guys posted here on YouTube. I'll send you some pictures. I'm going to be heading up to kind of vacation and relax a little bit. Hopefully, this stomach problem that I'm having isn't going to get in the way there. But we should be heading out on vacation here very soon, starting Saturday. So just want to let you guys know, April 5th to April 14th, I will not be here, okay? So let's jump into the news. Ukrainian troops are continuing to advance on multiple fronts in the east as of 10 p.m. Kiev time, March 30th. There have been 147 combat engagements on the front since the start of the day. Ukrainian troops continue to inflict effective fire on the enemy, according to Ukraine's general staff. Okay, so that's what we're going to start off talking about today. I've got multiple reports coming out over the last 24 hours on X. Multiple sources indicating that in numerous areas along the front line, Ukraine is advancing. Okay, so this kind of refutes a lot of the things that Vladimir Putin was talking about last week, the Russian president. He's stating recently, probably over the last month, I'd say, multiple times, that his forces are gaining on the eastern side of Ukraine. But based on a lot of the maps that we see coming out from X and a lot of independent sources, it's the opposite. We're seeing Ukraine actually making gains and pushing Russia back in multiple areas across the front line. So we're going to start off talking about that. Then I also have some reports of some aid packages that have been announced for Ukraine as well today, and numerous other things that we'll get into also. So let's jump on over here to X with Claretta Nihuis, if I'm saying that's right. Ukrainian forces have completely cleared the northwestern district, of Toretsk from occupiers. Okay, so this is in the Donetsk region, the city of Toretsk. This is where major fighting has been ongoing for a very long time now, and we've been covering Toretsk for months now. And what we've seen recently, probably over the last 3 to 4 months, is Russia started to make a lot of gains in the city right here, started to push Ukraine almost completely out of the northwestern side of Toretsk. And now what we're starting to hear is recently, over the past couple weeks, Ukraine launched multiple attacks onto Toretsk, attacking from the north, also from the south west over here. But this big report today shows that Ukraine has completely gained the northwestern section, control of it, at least, of Toretsk. Okay, so still more reports here that Ukraine is slowly starting to push Russia back out of the city. And you can see a lot of these yellow areas now creeping into the center portion of Toretsk. And there's even been some reports, I think, over the weekend or on Friday, somewhere around there, that there was somewhere around like 50 Russian soldiers at one point that had surrendered to Ukraine. Okay, so lots of Russian forces either being killed over here or captured inside of Toretsk. So still very heavy fighting occurring over there in that direction. Now for Mostomp Vishnya, Russian defense collapsing in Pokrov's direction. Okay, so what we're hearing down here, the city of Pokrovsk would be up here. It's kind of cut off on the screen. But southwest of Pokrovsk, we've been hearing of Ukraine launching multiple attacks in this area as well. The Russians have been trying to circle around the western side of the city and cut off some of the supply lines. There's a major highway that leads right here. It's also cut off on this map, unfortunately. But the Russians are trying to circle around and cut off these supply routes so that way Ukraine cannot refuel the Pokrovsk city, okay? So what we're seeing here on this map is Ukraine launching multiple counterattacks and attacking these forces that are trying to circle around. So what we're hearing here is looks like the front line for Russia in the Pokrovsk direction, trying to circle around the backside, is starting to collapse, and Ukraine is making heavy gains over here. You can see a lot of these yellow areas where Ukraine is liberating sections that Russia was currently controlling. Okay, so Ukrainian forces still fighting hard near Pokrovsk right now. Also from Ostap Vishnya again, AFU advancement in Kupiansk direction. Okay, this is up in the Kharkiv region near the city of Kupiansk. So we're seeing here in multiple areas, Ukraine is starting to advance also. Okay, so they're also pushing hard in the Kharkiv region as well. We've got a few updates also from Luhansk direction. Okay, this is from Visioner, Luhansk front. Ukrainian forces have advanced in the Novogorivka, if I'm saying that correctly, area. Okay, so also in the Luhansk region, we're seeing Ukraine making some gains over here as well. Okay, so here's another map indicating that they're pushing forward in this area also. And finally, one more update here from Ostap Vishnya again, AFU advancement in Svatov direction. Okay, this also being in the Luhansk region as well of Ukraine. Okay, so reportedly Ukraine making multiple gains in different areas over here. Looks like 3 different areas where they're starting to advance. Okay, so again, what we've been seeing from the maps coming out here on X from independent sources that Ukraine is making gains on multiple areas of the front line. So it looks like, at least at the moment, many of the Russian lines are starting to collapse, but maybe nothing super significant yet, but still significant gains coming from Ukraine in multiple areas of the front line. Okay, so just want to give you guys an update there. Now for more Monitor. Ukrainian forces are implementing a drone shield for many areas of the front line, creating a buffer zone of 10 kilometers where Russian armored vehicles cannot operate. This so far in the east has meant Russian assaults have lacked the use of armored vehicles. Okay, so this is very big news. We've been kind of hearing little chatter coming out about this here and there over the last few weeks that Ukrainian forces are really starting to implement a lot of drone usage on the front line, and many times Russia cannot attack with their armored vehicles. So it looks like Ukraine is now creating a drone shield, okay, up to 10 kilometers. That must explain why we're not really seeing Russia making a lot of gains. But again, at the same time, Vladimir Putin coming out multiple times over the past month stating that his forces are continuing to advance on the Eastern Front. So maybe is he talking about a precursor to another major attack coming in the spring? As we have been hearing, I reported to you guys last week that the Russians are preparing like another spring offensive or summer offensive. So maybe things will get more difficult as the snow starts to thaw and things start to warm up. But at least at the moment, Ukraine is making some gains of their own. Now for Max 24, the armed forces of Ukraine broke into Belgorod region by 3 to 4 kilometers. Presumably, the purpose of this operation is to distract Russia from the fighting in Kursk. Okay, so this was according to Reuters today. And this report basically showing that what we're hearing is that the Ukrainians still are fighting in the Kursk region. It might be a much smaller piece of land that they're holding on to, but they're trying to distract the Russians from the fighting in Kursk, and they're trying to pull those troops away over to the Belgorod region. So maybe Ukraine can open up that front again in the Kursk region, maybe regain some land over there. We have heard that Ukraine, as of like a week ago, took over 2 settlements in the Belgorod region. So nothing super significant over there, but if anything, could possibly be purposely done to distract the Russians from fighting in the Kursk region. Now from Bliskovka, Sweden will provide Ukraine with its largest aid package of $1.6 billion. The country's defense minister, Paul Johnson, announced the funds will be used to support air defense, artillery, satellite communications, and naval capabilities. Okay, so huge aid package coming from Sweden today, guys. $1.6 billion. Sweden has been a huge supporter of Ukraine. Same with Finland. I think Finland announced some aid packages over the weekend for Ukraine as well. As recently, just about a week ago, I think Vladimir Zelensky was also in Finland speaking with their president. But now we've got Sweden announcing this huge military aid package. Okay, 1.6 billion just announced today to Ukraine. So now for military news UA, the Netherlands will allocate 500 million euros to Ukraine for the drone line project. Okay, so Netherlands also coming out big today with 500 million to support Ukraine's drone production. We know a lot of these FPV drones are used on the front line, just as we talked about the whole drone shield that they're creating right now. And I'm sure these drones are helping out big time. I mean, imagine Ukraine is heavily outnumbered in terms of manpower, but with the addition of these FPV drones, it makes it much easier for them to equalize themselves on the battlefield with Russia and take out a lot of their armored vehicles, which is why we're not seeing as many armored assaults from the Russians. And then also on the back end, we're seeing that Russia's using all kinds of old vehicles just to transport stuff to the front line, as a lot of their vehicles have already been destroyed. So definitely Russia is having a vehicle shortage right now due to these FPV drones that are being massively produced. Okay, millions per year they're producing right now. Now from Max 24, parliamentary representatives from all over Europe arrived in Kiev. This visit is a strong symbol of support, solidarity, and trust. Ukraine feels the shoulder of its partners. This is inspiring, said Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, Stefanchuk. So, huge update today, guys. Lots of countries, their parliament members were visiting in Ukraine today, showing massive support to Ukraine. We're probably going to be even seeing more aid packages going to Ukraine here very soon. Now, on top of this, with all these parliamentary members from multiple nations in Europe meeting in Kiev today. So, just a quick video coming out. Unfortunately, I'm sorry I can't show you guys the sound. Just basically has music anyway, and unfortunately, I can't play music here on my video, but we can show you the video footage there today, okay? Now for Max 24, Ukrainian drones also attacked Shaykovka airfield in Kaluga region at night. Okay, so we got a 6-second clip. Ukrainian drones were entering into Russia last night. I'm not sure what else was being targeted, but we know an airfield in the Kaluga region. This would be up north of Ukraine, closer to Moscow, that we had attacked last night. Take a look at this. Okay, so unfortunately we can't hear a whole lot, or see a whole lot, excuse me, in this video, but we can hear lots of gunfire there in the background, possibly indicating that one of those airfields were coming under attack. As far as I know, nothing super significant being hit last night inside of Russia. From what we have been seeing recently, I haven't really been seeing Ukraine attacking their energy facilities. It looks like for the most part, there's somewhat of a ceasefire going on, but in many cases, people would say there's really no ceasefire. It's just more kind of subtle at the moment, if anything, from what I've been seeing. So now we'll move on to another update from the Ukrainian Review. 5 Russian Shahed UAVs strike Kievsky, district in Kharkiv, injuring 3 men and damaging 5 industrial buildings, 11 apartment blocks. The blast was shattered around 100 windows, and in 2 kindergartens, windows were blown out along with their frames. Okay, so what we've been seeing in Kharkiv recently, even over the weekend, Kharkiv got hit hard again. Lots of civilian infrastructure just being destroyed over here. Homes, schools, hospitals, just everything being hit really hard by Russian drone attacks. These are with those thermobaric warheads too, which are probably causing major damage to people inside. Lots of people being injured recently over the weekend due to these attacks in Ukraine. So these were attacks coming out from yesterday, okay, yesterday evening. Now from next, the U.S. and Russia have begun discussions on rare earth metals and mining projects in Russia. Moscow and Washington have started negotiations on joint projects in the field of rare earth elements and other sectors, according to Kirill Dmitriev, head of Russian Direct Investment Fund. Okay, so this is very big news, and we've been kind of hearing this recently, that the U.S. is working more towards buddying up with Russia, starting to do more business with each other. And I'm sure once this war comes to an end, we're going to really see Russia and the U.S. become allies, at least under Donald Trump. Yes, apparently they're discussing some sort of rare earth metals and mining projects. So I wonder if some of those could be some of these projects inside of Ukraine, also some of the areas that Russia's currently controlling, because we know they control a vast amount of rare earth metals inside of Ukraine. So it could be some sort of exchange that the U.S. does with Russia in terms of ending this war. Also, we'll see how that goes, but looks like Russia and the United States are going to be heavily working together in the future and starting up a lot of projects together. Now from Vicegrad 24, breaking, The Economist reports that Ukraine could hold elections this summer if there is a ceasefire. Zelensky reportedly called a meeting about it last week and plans to run again. Okay, so this was a report coming out today from The Economist. And it's interesting because I've got multiple reports talking about the opposite, saying this was not a thing. So I'm not 100% sure if this is going on. There's been a lot of talk about whether there's going to be elections in Ukraine pretty soon or whether there's not going to be. But I do have some reports that are refuting that. So from Knoll reports, Ukraine's government is not preparing for elections. There was no such meeting or directive from Zelensky, says the presidential office, responding to The Economist. Okay, so you can see here, Zelensky's presidential office basically saying that there's no meeting or directive from Vladimir Zelensky to prepare any kind of elections in Ukraine in the near future. So are we going to see elections over here? Why are we not? It looks like, according to Ukraine's government, they are not planning or preparing any elections as of right now. Here's another one from Max 24. My answer to this has not changed. While the war is going on, we all need to work to save the country and not think about the elections. I do not comment on various rumors Zelensky about his possible participation in the presidential election. So Valery Zelensky, the ambassador to the UK from Ukraine, and also the former commander of Ukraine's armed forces. So we've been hearing a lot of reports that he might try to run for president at some point, and it appears to be very popular amongst the Ukrainian people. So maybe he'd have a good chance of winning. There was also some reports that Vladimir Zelensky might try to run as well. So I don't know if those are all confirmed or not. But Zelensky coming out saying he's not going to comment on any rumors. That basically his stance right now is, until he actually hears that elections are coming, he's not really going to comment on that just yet. Okay, so no real confirmation coming out from Ukraine's government that they're going to be holding elections. But yeah, lots of mainstream news starting to report that recently. Now for Max 24, AFU recorded a decrease in casualties in March due to the update of the basic training course and its extension, to 1.5 months, according to Oleksandr Syrsky. So this is Ukraine's commander of their armed forces right now. He noted that the introduction of a mandatory adaptive period for newcomers to combat brigades is already yielding positive results. Okay, so this was probably, I want to say back in January, maybe December, a few months back, that we heard that Ukraine was going to make changes to their basic training course. They're going to be extending it to 1.5 months. I think they might have had it around like 45 days before, and I think they doubled it or something like that. But they definitely extended it, and it looks like they're yielding positive results right now. They're seeing less troops being injured on the battlefield. So that's some good news. Looks like that extension of the training is helping out with a lot of their troops on the field, okay? So now from Noel reports, enough talk, time for action. Friedrich Merz incoming government will push the EU to cut Hungary's funding and revoke its voting rights, other violations of key EU principles, according to Politico. Okay, so Politico reporting today, you can see here the time has come to punish Orban, Germany's next government says. So Friedrich Merz right here, the gentleman on the left side of this photo, can't click on it because it'll just open up a news article. But so he's coming out and stating, once he gets into the German government, he'll be the new chancellor pretty soon to replace Olaf Scholz. He's coming out saying they're going to go after Hungary pretty soon, start cutting their funding, revoking their voting rights, or at least pushing that direction to try to remove that. We've been hearing about that for quite a while now, but it looks like Germany's going to start putting pressure on Hungary here very soon, as Hungary's been pretty much for the most part siding with Russia in many ways, a lot of people would say, and not being very supportive of Ukraine. Same with Slovakia. We've been seeing a lot of that as well. So now for Military News UA, Hungary will view Ukrainian attacks on Russia's energy infrastructure as a threat to its own sovereignty. Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó said in an interview with Russian media. Okay, so we've got an update here also from Hungary that apparently they're going to start coming out and calling this an attack on their sovereignty or a threat to their own sovereignty when Ukraine is attacking an energy infrastructure inside of Russia that severely impacts their nation. Okay, so recently we saw some attacks on the Sudza gas metering station in the Kursk region, and reportedly that was going to affect Hungary big time. And we've even seen gas transportation inside of Ukraine get cut off as well. As Ukraine back in January ended that gas contract with Gazprom, so a lot of liquefied natural gas was no longer going through Ukraine on over to Hungary. So looks like Hungary is going to start taking some action here pretty soon and trying to basically state this is a threat to their own sovereignty. So we'll see how they respond to that. Now from next, a Russian pilot dropped an aerial bomb on a cemetery in Russia's Belgorod region. So I want to show you guys this because this is something that actually the Russian Telegram channel Astra reports this quite a bit, almost every week, that Russian glide bombs drop very early, somehow landing inside the Belgorod region. We've had homes destroyed, people being hit by these glide bombs. This one landing inside of a cemetery instead of falling inside of Ukraine. Somehow the Russian pilots are launching these way too early and dropping them in the Belgorod region. Take a look. So yeah, it definitely looks in this video like this bomb fell inside this cemetery or very close to it. It looks like there's some headstones not too far away from where this explosion happened. So this is something that I have reported to you guys before. A lot of times these Russian bombs just fall way too soon. I'm not sure how this happens. I don't know if this is Ukraine using some sort of electronic warfare to jam these things and make them fall early, because we have kind of heard that before. But a lot of these happen to fall inside the Belgorod region, which we notice a lot, okay? So now moving on to Max 24, Trump said there was a psychological deadline for Russia to agree to a full ceasefire in Ukraine. If I think they're lying to us, I'm not going to be happy about it. I think Putin wants to make a deal. Okay, so psychological deadline. So what he's talking about here is apparently there was some sort of deadline, not maybe not openly stated during these discussions with this whole ceasefire thing going on. But we know that Donald Trump has like a timeline. Apparently, what we've been hearing is like April 20th. So sometime in the next like 3 weeks or so, we're hearing that that Trump really wants this war to come to an end. He even came out yesterday on Air Force One, and he was pretty much calling on Russia to try to end this war as soon as possible. If not, he might have to put some heavy tariffs onto the Russian economy. I think up to 25% of tariffs coming from Russia. So this could definitely put a huge strain on their economy and potentially even collapse their economy. So, what we've been seeing more from Trump is more threats than action, but who knows? Maybe out of nowhere, maybe we will see some action coming from Trump that will kind of light a fire under Vladimir Putin and get him moving to try to end this war. But at this moment, it doesn't look like really Russia's in any mood to try to end this war anytime quickly. Okay, is what we've been seeing basically over the last few weeks as he's been trying to extend this war, if anything, to continue on the fighting inside of Ukraine. Now for Max 24, again, the number of flights of American military aid to Ukraine has increased over the past week. Okay, I thought this was interesting. We had multiple reports here of different airlines. You can see with this one coming from Tampa over to Poland, and these are all kinds of flights coming from the U.S. that are carrying military hardware over to Poland that will eventually be transported into Ukraine. So I'm thinking a lot of these are probably past contracts coming from the U.S., maybe even under the Biden administration, that are still being fulfilled. As recently we even heard that a lot of military equipment was being withheld from Ukraine for like a week's time, almost a week, I'd say. So it looks like there's been an increase in military aid to Ukraine from the U.S. recently with a lot of these flights. So I thought that was interesting. Now from Bliskovka, Ukraine and the United States held the first long conversation on the draft of a new agreement on mineral resources, according to Suspilne. Took place on Friday. The work between the teams involving lawyers continues. Ukraine is ready to continue working on it, the source said. Okay, so this is regarding the agreement on mineral resources inside of Ukraine that the U.S. and Ukraine are supposed to sign together. And what we're hearing here is they're still working on it, okay? And yesterday, Trump was also on Air Force One and accusing Volodymyr Zelensky of potentially trying to back out of this deal and basically saying that if Ukraine does that, they're going to have very big problems. We're not really sure what that might be. Possibly cutting off military aid or intelligence again to Ukraine. But allegedly, according to Ukraine's government, they're still working on this right now, okay? They're still trying to work towards striking some sort of deal with the U.S. Now for Max 24, again, the Moscow Metro website has been hacked. When you try to access it, it redirects you to the, this is really hard to pronounce, but I think it's Liznitsia, kind of hard to pronounce, sorry guys, page. The card also does not load. Payments do not go through machines and validators on buses, okay? So this is the Moscow Metro, basically their train service, their underground trains that they have. Also, reportedly, their bus is not working when people are trying to pay. Looks like they got hacked big time. This webpage here, the Liznitsia, that's really hard to say. Apparently, that's the train or metro system inside of Ukraine that reportedly it redirects you to. So it looks like Ukrainian hackers might have gone in there and hacked up their website for their metro system. So I thought that was interesting today. So now from Anton Yeroshenko. They brought our coffin, we'll load it into a gazelle and take it to Ivanovo. In Moscow, the bodies of Russian soldiers or Cargo 200 are reportedly now delivered to their families via cargo terminals. Yeah, so Cargo 200, I looked this up. It's like an old Soviet term for like deceased soldiers. So what we're seeing here is now cargo terminals are starting to transport Russian soldiers who are deceased from the front line. This could possibly indicate that they just don't have enough vehicles or trains or whatever it might be to transport them. Now they're using cargo terminals to transport these bodies. Take a look at this.
Вот мы на грузовом терминале, сейчас будем получать. Сейчас будут вывозить наш груз 200. Вот, привезли наш гроб. и будем грузить уже в «Газель» на Иваново.
Okay, we'll go ahead and pause it there. So imagine working inside of like a transportation company, and all of a sudden you just see a coffin sitting there on a, on top of a pallet. Yeah, so allegedly some of the cargo terminals inside of Russia are being used now to transport a lot of these bodies. Maybe this is a shortage of vehicles, maybe a shortage of trains, or maybe there's just too many Russian soldiers dying, and that's how they got to transport some of them now. But that's pretty crazy to think about, that you're working inside of a cargo terminal and all of a sudden there's a casket with potentially a body inside of it laying there on top of a pallet. Isn't that pretty insane to think about? Now, from next, during the night, Ukraine was attacked by 131 Russian drones. Air defense forces shot down 57 of them, while another 45 were lost from radar, without causing any damage. The attack affected the Sumy, Donetsk, Kharkiv, Kiev, and Zhytomyr regions. In Kharkiv, Russian forces targeted industrial facilities. At least 6 explosions were heard in the city. So this could have been Kharkiv right here that was being attacked last night. So not our typical update that we show you guys with the whole diagram and everything of the amount of drones going in. I wasn't able to find those today, which I thought was interesting. Not too many reports coming out on those, but Nexa did report this as of yesterday evening. These were the amount of drones going in over the last 24 hours, so 131 drones. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to find those normal reports that are usually coming out. So I thought that was interesting because it's one of the few days that we've been able to come across that where we're not finding those reports. Okay, so a lot of drones going into Ukraine last night. Now from Petrik Piatoshkin, if I'm saying that correctly. These are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of March 31st, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. So if you notice, I had to use another independent news channel over here to give you guys this report from the Kiev Independent, because even the Kiev Independent didn't post this today, which again I thought was interesting, but we were able to find it from them. So Russia's losses as of March 31st, 1,230 troops, 3 AFVs, 65 vehicles and fuel tanks, 4 tanks, 30 artillery systems, 71 UAVs, and 1 anti-aircraft warfare system. Okay, so based on a lot of these numbers, I'm not seeing a whole lot being destroyed, and that kind of ties into some of these reports we're seeing today where Ukraine is creating these drone shields, all these FPV drones and everything that are being used on the front line. Not a whole lot of attacks with armored vehicles. You can see here only 4 tanks and only 3 AFVs and 65 vehicles and fuel tanks. Probably some of the least amount of numbers in terms of armored vehicles and just vehicles in general that Russia uses. Their troop number is still right around 1,200, which we've seen a major decrease over the last few months of the amount of troops attacking from the Russian side, which also equates to what we're seeing on the front line with Ukraine making more gains versus Russia making those gains, at least based on the reports that we're getting from X. And only 30 artillery systems. I think yesterday this number was up to like 70 or 80 I saw here on X. So just a quick update regarding some of the losses on Russia's side there for you guys, and big news coming from Ukraine. Looks like they are starting to make some gains in the Eastern Front. We'll see if this continues on down the road, or maybe it might reverse. We might start to see Russia start to heavily attack, as again, we have been hearing recently that they're going to launch some more major offensives, potentially in the spring or maybe in the summertime. Just want to give you guys some quick updates coming out from this war today, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in till the end of this video if you're still here. And I hope you guys all have a great day today on March 31st, 2025 on Monday. So let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.